This happened a while ago, and I was going crazy trying to figure it out. Honestly, I still am. At the time, I just moved into a new apartment, and I am still in the process of settling in. Thus, I have been using my parents' address as my mailing address, which was about 20 minutes away. And one night, my parents called me at 2 a.m. They sounded freaked out and told me that an hour before calling me, someone banged on their front door and repeatedly rang their doorbell. When my stepdad opened the front door, leaving the protective glass door still shut, he saw through the glass a man. He looked like he was in his 30s. He had a black hoodie on with the hood over his head, and he had no distinguishing features. He was just creepy given the circumstances. Neither my stepdad nor my mom, who at this point had been watching from the windows, recognized the man. My parents then continued with something that scared me. They said that the man was looking for me and that he knew my full name. My stepdad at the time played dumb, but the man kept repeating my name and that he was looking for me. But he also said that my boyfriend was worried because I wasn't home that night. Now, I didn't have a boyfriend at the time. I lived by myself with my pets and haven't been in a relationship in months. My stepdad told me that he asked the man whose boyfriend he was talking about, and the man said the name of my 10th grade boyfriend, which was nearly 20 years ago. That boyfriend had a very unique Italian name, and I've never met anyone else with that name besides him. So it was very unlikely that the man was mistaking it. At this point, my dad has already slammed and locked the door in the man's face. However, the man didn't immediately leave. Rather, he lingered around the front of my parents' house for the next 10 minutes, smoking cigarettes and talking to someone on the phone. But when my parents called the cops, that's when the man soon walked down to a dead end on the block and drove away in a silver car. However, my stepdad couldn't get a license plate, and after the police came by and my parents filed a report, nothing else happened, and that's when they called me. After my parents were done, I was very freaked out, especially about the details. How could someone know who I dated 20 years ago? Someone whom I haven't talked to after we broke up. And what was this man's end goal? I don't remember how the rest of the night went, but the next day, I contacted my boyfriend from 20 years ago on Facebook to see if he had any idea who this man was. But after hearing the story, he was just as confused as my entire family. Fast forward to 3 days ago, my stepsister, who was my stepdad's daughter, and her fiancé were at a house party after the holidays, and they began talking to a girl neither of them knew. The girl started talking about her ex-boyfriend and how rough they'd been since they broke up, and the boyfriend had been a wreck because of it. And this boyfriend was the same boyfriend that the creepy man at my parents' house had said. The boyfriend with the unique Italian name. Now, my stepsister's fiancé and I went to the same high school, so we had a ton of mutual friends. And it made sense that there would be some people at this party that we went to school with. And it made sense that some of these people, like the girl, would be connected to us somehow. My stepsister and her fiancé, making conversation, told the girl about the man who had shown up at my parents' door and how weird it was. And as they were continuing with the story, the girl's face turned pale and she began to cry. My stepsister and fiancé realized this and tried to console her and ask her what's wrong. The girl starts telling them that a few nights ago, when she was sleeping, someone began banging on her door and ringing her doorbell at 1 a.m., exactly like what happened to me and my parents. The girl is now suddenly awake and says that she was terrified by just how loud this banging was. It sounded like the door was going to collapse, almost muffling out her notifications, but she hears it, and it was the Ring app, saying that there was movement in the front door. So the girl checks, and there, on the camera, is a guy in a black hoodie, banging on the door. Her description of the guy, and the banging and ringing, made it certain to me that it was the guy in front of my parents' door. And when the girl saw this guy, her fear was tenfold, and she just stays silent, pretending like she isn't home. But the banging and ringing continue until the girl can't take it anymore, and she is ready to dial 911. But as soon as she was about to call, the banging and ringing just stopped. Suddenly, all gone. She didn't know why she didn't call the police that night, but she went to stay at a friend's place. And my stepsister and her fiancé were shocked by how similar the story was compared to mine. They asked the girl if she knew who the guy who banged on her door was, but of course, she didn't. But she was sure that the man was our mutual ex-boyfriend. After this, I haven't heard about the man anymore, Someone has been pretending to be my friend for over 10 years, and she has just recently found out. This impersonator has been using her real name and sharing her personal photos, including pictures of her family with strangers online. They've fabricated an entire persona based on my friend's life, fooling multiple people by revealing intimate details about her and her loved ones. Last year, one of the victims reached out to my friend and provided screenshots, which led her to confront the imposter. The impersonator apologized, promised to stop, and my friend blocked them on all platforms, thinking that was the end of it. But it wasn't. Just yesterday, another stranger contacted her, revealing that the impersonator had been maintaining contact with them for the past decade and is still actively pretending to be her. And this is the story my friend told me. A stranger randomly messaged her last year, saying that someone had been impersonating her online, and they sent screenshots showing conversations and pictures all shared without her consent. Some of these were from before she turned 18, but they were normal pictures. This person, whose username was Cat and called themselves Cat, has been using her face to form online romantic relationships, even sharing baby photos and pictures of her family. They also used her real Chinese name, and this Cat person got all these photos from her private Instagram, Facebook, and family's Facebook. But the truth is that this Cat person was someone she knew from her childhood, but they were no longer in touch. This Cat person online was a female, pretending to be my friend, but in real life, he's actually a guy, and he has tricked both boys and girls into thinking he's my friend. At one point, a group of girls even changed clothes in front of him on a video call because they thought it was all girls on the call, due to the fact that this guy never turned on his camera. My friend and I are terrified thinking about how many people he's fooled, or if he's used my face and body for more illegal things. And when my friend found out who Cat really was, and confronted him online in June of 2023, he admitted to impersonating her, and promised to inform the people involved, and said he'd delete his account. She gave him the benefit of the doubt, because he was someone she knew from her childhood. But just yesterday, a stranger reached out saying Cat is still at it, and has been doing this for 8 to 10 years, meaning that he had never stopped impersonating her after the confrontation, impacting countless strangers. Cat is now revealing to these people that he isn't actually my friend, but now he's claiming his real identity to be a girl named Sylvia. He's now sharing new photos of Sylvia, pretending to be a different person again. Me and my friend wish we could see his message history to know if he's done anything worse, at least when he was impersonating my friend. This whole situation made her feel violated and disgusted. It even makes me feel that too, and I'm not even a victim. Especially since he started this when my friend was underaged. She was also scared he might show up in person and stalk her, because we figured his mental state must be seriously messed up. My 20-year-old brother just came back from his gap year after high school. He had been traveling in Asia in hopes of finding himself and what he would do for the rest of his life. Me, a 30-year-old male, and him were never close. So his lack of communication to me during this year wasn't too alarming. But my parents have told me there were 3 incidents in which they needed to contact the consulate authorities to ask about him. My brother was close to our mom and was a mommy's boy, so it was strange that he didn't reach out to her. When my brother came back, we hosted a dinner to welcome him home. I almost didn't recognize him. It was like a stranger tried to draw him from memory. He looked completely different. He was very underweight, looked a bit shorter, and looked bedraggled and unkempt. Believe me, he wasn't like that at the beginning of the trip when he left. He was vibrant and a germaphobe, washing his hands constantly. But it was like he went through war or something in Asia. He smelled terrible. He didn't even talk or even acknowledge our existence. He just begrudgingly hugged our mom, gave my dad a handshake, and ignored me. 2 weeks after my brother's return, what I've been hearing from my parents is horrifying. My brother has been extremely active at night and only sleeps during the day. Now, a big time shift obviously needs time to adjust to, and it's different for everyone. And maybe it needs 2 weeks for my brother, but he's becoming nonsensical. He doesn't shower, eats nothing, and locks himself in his room all day doing something extremely loud. My parents and I have no idea what he's doing. My parents have already contacted a doctor and a therapist who has put him on a waiting list. I suggested calling the police to try and figure out what he's been doing that's so loud, but my parents were against that idea. Fearing for my parents, I volunteered to be the peacekeeper at the house because they were getting old, and I didn't know what my brother would do to them. But my parents were also against this. I again was never close to my brother, but this was not him at all. It was like someone had kidnapped the real him and replaced him with a doppelganger. Fearing for my brother and my parents, I've told my friends and coworkers the situation and have gone online for answers. I've been told about drug use or a mental issue. I had my mother over at my house one day to primarily talk about my brother's condition and to pitch my idea about testing his DNA to see if it's really my brother, because honestly, at that point, I didn't know what to do. My wife strongly opposed showing my mom this. My mom honestly had nothing to say about this. Rather, she told me about the 3 times she had to call authorities in Vietnam to check on him. The first time was a simple welfare check, because my brother hadn't contacted us in about a week. A little suspicious, but not a big red flag. However, the second and third time on paper was normal too, just a simple welfare check, but I learned it was more disturbing than that. During the second and third instances, my brother was in Laos, and Laos authorities suspected my brother and his 2 female friends had been trafficked because they failed to return to Vietnam on time. But this was resolved because my brother did return to Vietnam. As for the 2 girls, I'm not sure, but I hope they return to Vietnam as well. With my brother's current state, my parents have agreed to my suggestions of adding cameras in the house, as well as installing doorstops in their rooms. They have also said that they'll go private to seek psychiatric treatment for my brother. What can a man possibly see to change him like this?